Welcome, guys, to another episode. Actually, episode 24 of Let's Talk Crypto. I am your host, Bitcoin J, here with the BTC Queen. How are you doing, BTC Queen?
Pretty good. Can't complain. I think I might take a trip to Asia soon, so that'll be fun. Only problem is it's like on the other side of the world, and that means like the time would be weird. But we'll figure it out. Other than that, not too bad. Been looking at the news, the market. Crypto's not too bad. I went to see the movie, The Highest Stake. If anybody knows anything about that movie, it's the movie about Hex and Richard Hart that came out.
Oh, nice.
Which was filmed completely independent by outsources. No one in the community filmed it, which I thought was cool. Originally, I was under the impression that like people in the community were like, "Oh, let's make this movie to elevate Hex," but like, no, it was like a purely unbiased documentary. Very controversial. So like, we'll talk about a little bit about that today later on in the news, but pretty good otherwise.
Awesome. Well, while you were talking, I just went and turned off my AC, which I forgot and left on at the start of this. Yeah, so it's been a crazy week overall. I literally just walked in the door from getting off a plane. I went to visit, like I told you guys, I went to visit Cuba this weekend. So I was there for a few days. Literally just landed this morning, been running around, just walked in the door. So I am definitely drained, but I'm putting all the rest of my reserve energy into getting this podcast together, getting this live stream together, and putting it out for you guys. So grinding right through it. So today we're gonna cover a lot of things. We have a big week on the economic calendar. Price has been it's been choppy, right? Price has been a little choppy. And we have a potential double top on the charts that I want to talk about, but there's also a bullish case for it. So we're going to look at both of those scenarios in today's live stream podcast. And what else? I know you have some juicy news for us as usual. You got the down low, the 411. And remember, at the end of this, we're going to go ahead and do a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments. This weekend, since I wasn't using my phone, I wasn't able to ask questions on Instagram. So we're gonna need some help from you guys, the live viewers, for today's show. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The first thing we're gonna be talking about, let's look at the price. So let's start there. I think that's a good place to start. Let's take a look at the price here. And you can see that right now we're at 29. So we actually just broke back above $29,000. Let me go to the daily really quickly so you guys can get a clearer view. And we went down as low as 28,690 today. Which last week we actually went a bit lower than that. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, so as soon as we went live, price started to go back up. So you already know price was waiting for us to go live in order to start moving up. So that's a good sign already. A great way to start the show already. Let's take a look at what's been going on around the market. I know it's been a little slow. Last week was pretty slow. We didn't really have much going on as far as like in the economic calendar, things like that. And a lot of people were probably just kind of waiting to see what's going on with the inflation report that's coming out this week. So we can see that in the last 7 days, Bitcoin has literally really done nothing. It's pretty much flat, right? It's down 0.36%. Ethereum is down 2%. And then if we kind of look across the rest of the market, you can see that XRP is down almost 13%. We know that XRP had a big run over the last few weeks, so it's been kind of in that retrace. Has been probably retracing more than it should, not more than it should, but more compared to the other cryptos, and that's probably due in part because of that big move to the upside. It left a lot of imbalances in the market. So that means the liquidity to the lower levels, and that's what it looks like it's been doing here. If we keep going down the chart, you'll see Doge is down about 6.5%. We have Cardano down about 7.5%. Solana down about 4.5%, and Tron down about 2%. So and we could also see here Litecoin down 12%, which last week the Litecoin halving occurred, right? Do you know the exact day that it happened on?
I was watching the halving party actually. It was like Charlie Lee and friends. The first like 2 hours of it was just guys going back and forth about like charts and stuff.
Right.
I feel like it was Wednesday. Like I want to say it was Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah.
My mind says it was.
It was around the 2nd or the 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. But we can see here that pretty much price has been dropping again. And we ended up getting the top on the 3rd of July is when we ended up getting the top of that.
It was on Wednesday. Wednesday the 2nd.
Okay. So it was on the 2nd. Exactly. So, so it looks like we ended up getting the top on Monday, July 3rd, which ended up being around $115. I think when I did my video, and this is back like in January, February, my guesstimate for a top was I think it was like June 18th or something like that, and my price guesstimate for the top was between 120 to like 160 or something like that. So I mean, I wasn't that far off, and I was predicting it like 6 months in advance. We got to like 115, and I was about 2 weeks off as far as the exact, trying to guess the exact day it was going to top out. So it has been a weird year overall economically with the overall market. So I think that also has to do a lot with why the price behaved a little bit differently than the previous halvings, pre-halvings. But we did get a small rally up. Unfortunately, it wasn't as much as we would have liked. And now we see prices dropping back down for this. So like I spoke about in my video, if you guys watch that, usually once the halving happens, there's a price drop and a bottom out period. And then after that bottom out period, usually after Bitcoin's halving, then you can see price start to jump again and reach new all-time highs. Historically, that's what it's done. So that's what I'll be looking for next in Litecoin. So let's look at the rest of the market and see what's been going on. You can see here the top gainers in the last 7 days. We have FlexCoin, we have Kaspa, Bone, Shiba, Swap. So this is a new one jumping in here. It's actually exactly at 100 in the top 100 gainers. It's up 8%. I forgot to mention how much FlexCoin and Kaspa were up. Flex is up 37.5%, Kaspa up 28.8%. Kaspa's been on the top gainers list for like a few weeks in a row now when we've been doing this podcast. So it's been consistent. We have XDC Network here as well, up 8%, and Frax Shares is up 7%. As far as the top losers in the last week, we have Pepe once again. This one is on the other side of the coin of Kaspa, right? Pepe's been streaking here on the top losers chart. It's down about 15% on the week in the last 7 days. XRP down 13%, Litecoin down 12%. FIDA Network down 11.5%, and Uniswap down 11.3%. So it's been a mixed bag as far as what's been going on in the markets over the last 7 days. I do expect to see some movement this week. So looking over at the economic calendar to see what's going on, we can clearly see here August 10th. So the 10th of August, which is on Thursday. So on Thursday, the inflation rate reports are going to be coming out. Now, why is this important? Because if we look all the way back until, as far as this year to date, every week that we've had the inflation reports, Bitcoin, for the most part, has gone up. So this is the 8th month this year. So that means we have received 7 of these reports so far. 6 out of 7 of those reports, those weeks when the reports came out, Bitcoin's price went up. So, and then last month when the report came out, Bitcoin's price went up. So just something to keep in mind there. I believe last time did the inflation report come in at 3%? Was that where we were last time? So the forecast right now is actually at 3.3% is what consensus is at. So basically they're expecting the inflation, the year over year to go up in this report that's coming out on Thursday. That'll be the first report that we get in a year, basically, that this didn't go down the year over year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there during that report. Remember, usually the way that it works when these reports come out, whatever consensus is, that's pretty much what the price is, what the market is expecting. Depending on then once it comes out, if we come in below consensus, usually we get some bullish movement within the market. If we come in above consensus, usually we'll get bearish movement within the market. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out, because this will be the first time that that the consensus is above, in the last year, basically, that consensus is above the previous report's inflation rate. And I'm not sure how the prices are going to react, how the market's going to react depending on how that report comes out. Because even if it comes in at, let's say, 3.2, 3.1, or even 3%, we were beating consensus, but we're not beating, the move that we had last month. So we got to see. We have to see what happens. We're not really moving from that 3%. And remember, the Fed is targeting to get into that 2% area. So it seems like that 2% area is going to be a resistance to get into. So you can see here that the trading economics forecast is 3.1%. So we'll see. We'll see who's right here, the consensus or the forecast, or maybe none of them, right? So yeah, that's basically what we're going to see this week. I'm expecting, once those reports come out on Thursday, I expect to see some movement here within the market. You can see here this is last month when the reports came out. I believe, when was it? It had to be like mid-month, I'm assuming. So probably around here, I think it was. Wait, I'm looking at June. I'm sorry, I'm lost right now. So it was actually, it was actually in July. So I believe it was here on the 12th last month. And you can see that we did end up getting a green week there. We went up. This is actually that during inflation report week is actually when we topped out for the year highs. I believe we hit 31,800, 869 as our high there. Before, we're basically down ever since that week. We're down. So let's see if maybe this report brings in some inspiring news and some bullish movement back into the market. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about the what I'm currently watching on the charts here, and what I think could happen depending on which way we move this week. But first, let's go ahead and break down what's been going on overall in the market with the BTC Queen. So let me hand the reins over to you. I've been out of the loop, so please fill me in. What has been going on in the Bitcoin market?
All right, so I guess the Bitcoin market, but overall the news. So first, let's talk about the movie that came out this weekend in correlation with the SEC serving Mr. Richard Hart. The movie called The Highest Stakes, which is out in theaters now. I believe Regal is the only movie theater that is playing it. So, guys, if you want to watch a pretty interesting and controversial movie that is on cryptocurrency and everything that's going on right now, please go and see The Highest Stake in theaters. So, I'm not going to ruin the movie for anyone, because it's just, like I said, it's very controversial, and it was filmed by a group that was outside of the actual community. So I think that it highlights all aspects of, I guess, the movie well, and all takes of the idea of Hex. Now, what I will say is that after seeing the movie and watching it, yeah, it wasn't in anyone's favor. One, two, I pretty much, I think that's pretty much why the SEC served Richard prior to that movie coming out, because it was coming out, because it was, you know, some movie that's like a major documentary that's coming out in like theaters. Like I feel like they had to tell people something at that rate, and that's pretty much why they decided to serve him. Now, interestingly enough, on everything that Richard Hart does and says throughout the movie online is opposite of pretty much what the SEC is like blaming him about, which is he is very honest and transparent about the cryptocurrency market. He says, hey guys, if you put your money in this, you can lose it all. And he says that all the time. And he says it every time he streams. And it's crazy because nobody like with that like has like invested in Hex like that I know personally has ever felt wronged by this man. And it's usually because he says things like this, because he's actually extremely honest. So it's quite funny how that is actually portrayed in the documentation against Mr. Hart and what he actually does, you know, every day. A lot of some of the documentation that they had said was like, oh, you know, he spent these people's money to do this and the third. But I remember him being wealthy off Bitcoin because he used to be a miner back in the day, which he actually goes over in the movie, which is true. He did mine. I know Richard from being an OG Bitcoiner, just from way back when, ironically. So it's actually quite interesting to see these two, I guess, negating sides and aspects of like what's going on. So yeah, highly recommend the movie. I think after going with some friends who are working on other projects, they like saw the movie and their only thought was, man, am I wasting my life? Is this what crypto's all about? It was quite funny.
What's the name of the movie again?
The Highest Stake.
The Highest Stake. That definitely sounds interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a great movie. It's at Regal, so find your nearest Regal, and hopefully they're playing it. It was quite a good movie. So, anyways, moving on. The biggest news this morning is that PayPal is launching its own stablecoin. That's basically the highlight of the day.
Oh yeah, I did
PayPal
see that. Yep.
Is officially having a stablecoin, and I'm like, what is the point of having a stable coin like within like PayPal? Like it's basically like they already have like their own ecosystem pretty much. I'm assuming the stable coin in my brain, it has to make sense that the stable coin, like you can like purchase it on the free market so that you can like redeem it in PayPal. But if it's something that just stays in PayPal and it's like, just like, oh, instead of us offering, you know, like Tether, we're gonna offer you this you know, PayPal stable, which is an already trade your Bitcoin into a stable. That's really what I see here. So it's cool, but it like in reality it's actually less underwhelming than it could be. But yeah, I think honestly, they may or may not put it on the free market, but for the most part, they just might keep it an app as like an alternative of you holding all your crypto, you know, in a volatile state on PayPal versus, yeah, not having this option. So that's pretty much that. So some not so great news. In 2024, U.S. businesses will collect ID, name, and addresses if you make a crypto purchase over $10,000. Now, there's not a lot of things that you buy that are over $10,000 that usually don't require these things. Like if you buy a car, you know, you got to do your registration. If you buy, you know, just different things. But I mean, I guess let's say I want to buy a boat, or I want to buy like a really expensive handbag and I want to pay in crypto instead of paying my credit card. These people now have to like get all this information off me. Why do they need to do that if it's already not something that they like have to? If I wanted to pay cash, Like I could already do that without giving them my information. But like now it's like, oh, you're gonna pay in crypto? Whoa, wait a second. We gotta get all your information now. So like there's a lot of privacy concerns around that. There was a group that had brought it up to a judge when it was first rumored, but there wasn't any like official things about it. So the judge is like, that's speculative. They shut it down. Now that they pushed it and have like implemented it pretty much, it's kind of like, what the heck, it's a little strange. Definitely government overreach in my opinion, because you can't do that with cash now. If you're not telling people to do these things with other forms of money that we already like transact in, like nobody collects my ID if I pay cash. Nobody collects my ID if I pay with my card. I mean, I guess they have the card information, but that's not your address. That's not these other pieces of information that like it's like why do you need that? So yeah, that one's not too great. So in 2024, that is the latest. So in Kenya, if you guys haven't heard, the Kenyan police raided and seized all of the WorldCoin orbs in operation.
Wow.
So pretty much they are saying that there's privacy concerns around that, around their citizens, and that they are suspended from continuing business in Kenya while they are under investigation. I think that every country should do this because it's not great what's actually going on. I mean, if these things are like truly voluntary, that's one thing. Now, I have a friend who used to work on things that, did like eye scanning and recognition. And he was basically saying online, like, look, Sam, why aren't you being honest with people? This stuff collects like your entire face needs to be collected when you're doing these scans, which is pretty much one of the reasons why they probably took their orbs, and now they're like studying it to see like what exactly is it collecting, because you're saying it's collecting these eyeballs, but you don't actually know what it is all collecting. It says it's collecting this, but is it collecting more? And there's people who have obviously built similar things and have dealt with similar technology that say, hey, you need to collect an entire face recognition scan. And at that point in time, that is not what's being marketed. So there's potentially false marketing over the information and data that's being collected. So there's a lot of speculation on that right now. Between Smash the Orbs and, Kenyan police like raiding these people. I don't know about you guys, but I have stayed very, very far away from this WorldCoin UBI. I don't have any interest in participating in it. I don't want UBI. I'm very good where I'm at. So
yeah, I don't know why. I think that's like the opposite of what crypto is. Like, we're not about giving away information. Like, yeah, I'm definitely staying far away from that. I don't know why anyone would even want to do that. But
yeah, I mean, this is like if governments wanted to give like money away efficiently, maybe this is the way to do it. Maybe it's like, hey, everyone gets $500 a month, and in order for you to claim these $500 a month, you need to verify your identity with whatever documentation, and we need to make sure that you are in fact the person who you say you are.
Right.
Because sure, there is fraud. Sure, people claim other people's money on their behalf. I mean, I've seen endless amounts of people claiming dead people's social security checks, or just all the way down the line. Like, these things happen. So maybe if we wanted to do this efficiently, perhaps this is a way to do it. But at the same time, it's not these people's job to provide UBI. Like, this is not their job. Like, it's cute. It's an idea, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's definitely overreach, and it's starting to bother governments, because not even them themselves are doing that.
Right.
So very problematic.
And like
Very problematic.
like we already know what governments do. Like they're not trustworthy, right? And now you're telling me you're gonna
Right.
give all this information to a third party that's not even a government. Like
Yeah.
that's literally,
No.
you're literally setting yourself up. So whatever ends up happening with these things, when they eventually get hacked and get leaked, and now it's in the wrong hands of the wrong people, or the governments
I
take them
mean,
and
literally, there's people who they do eyeball authentication access and facial recognition access with your phone. People, we do this on our phone. We do these things, but there's people who they have high clearance security to certain things.
right.
Banks, gold reserves, you name it, like secured government areas. All of a sudden now all this facial recognition stuff is out on the internet, and some guy manages to like understand how to replicate it and like grant himself access because he has your eyeballs. What the heck is that? That's not information that should be collected by anyone, without.
I think you froze.
Someone, they will try anything to get that money because
She's cutting in and out, guys. She's frozen on my side right now. Hopefully it's not me. But right now,
because they need it. They need something.
you're cutting in and out for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, you were like frozen for like the last 5-10 seconds. Yeah, I see you
Oh
now.
no, the government's coming.
Yeah,
That's what it is. They hear me talk.
the government's watching right now, literally. So yeah, literally, you caught their keywords. So they're definitely tuning in. All of a sudden, the viewership went up. So I said Uncle Sam just joined the chat. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's definitely wild though. Yeah, I recommend. I'm staying away from it. I recommend people to stay away from it. And maybe nothing happens with it, but what if it does, right? I'd rather not give my information away just like that. I don't know. It's wild. It's wild how far things are going, and it just feels like the beginning of a direction that we don't want to go in, where government will eventually, where we're basically giving up full control to someone else like the government or something. And this is how it starts. It's not going to start as, hey, we want full control, you need to go scan your irises right now. No, that's not how it's going to start. It's going to start like this. Hey, look how fun this is, guys. Look how fun. This is so fun. Yeah. Here, we'll give you a world ID, this and that. And they're going to make it seem, they're going to make it so that people want to do it. They're not going to make it so that you don't want to do it. If they come out making it look threatening, because everybody's woke now, right? So everybody's instantly, oh no, I'm woke. You're not getting me with that. So they're not gonna do that. That's the resistant way to do it. It's not smart to set it up like that. So if they wanted to, and I'm not saying that this is it, but if they wanted to, right? If let's say the government came and knocked on my door, they're like, hey Jay, we're trying to collect everyone's iris. How can we begin this? And I was like, well, you're gonna have to make it something fun that people want to do, and let's find someone inspirational right now that everybody's like really looking up to. Maybe the creator of the biggest application, the biggest site, since forever, right? Oh, ChatGPT, yeah, let's get him to be the face of this, right? And build from there. And this is the perfect way, right? And I'm sure when these things do happen, if they do happen, there's teams. This is not one person coming up with this. Is teams of people where they're brainstorming, they're setting up test groups, they're doing all sorts of stuff, gathering as much data and information as possible, and then putting a plan together, and then going through each step of that plan, to execute it. So you got to be careful, guys. Everything's not always what it seems. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors. You just got to be careful. I would say just stay away from things like that. Don't just give up your information for no
Yeah,
reason.
no, absolutely, absolutely. Anyways, in other news, so CoinGecko now has a top alleged SEC securities section. So any coin
What?
that has been alleged as a security by the SEC is in this section on CoinGecko. I don't know why they added this section.
Where is this section?
I think it's quite comical. If you go, I guess if you go on CoinGecko and you look at the top where it says portfolio coins, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Well, is it there? Google CoinGecko alleged SEC securities. Maybe it'll come up because I don't particularly see it on something you can like click immediately, but the page is live. I'm on it now. Funnily enough, XRP is not on there. So,
Okay.
quite funny.
I'm looking through the website right now. I don't see it on the website. So maybe
Yeah, no, you have to Google it. So like here, let me do a share screen in the meantime, because I do in fact have it up.
okay. Let me switch to
So there it is.
hold on, it's loading.
This is the
Okay, there we go.
alleged. So it says top alleged SEC security coins by
That's
market
hilarious.
cap.
Wow.
And yeah, so today's market cap is 90 billion, up 7% in the last 24 hours. So you can read more about the alleged SEC securities, but pretty much anything that has been alleged as an SEC security is on here. So it starts with BNB at the top at number 4, Cardano, Solana, Tron, Polygon, and all the way down. Binance, Cosmos, Internet Computer, Filecoin, Near Protocol, Algorand, Axie Infinity Flow, and then some. So all the way into the thousands of market cap Hex at whatever it is, Ethereum, Max, Pulse Chain, FTX, etc. So yes, quite funny is what I think.
Oh, 100%. 100%. That's crazy.
So there is that. All right, let me unshare my screen and then we can go back to the rest of the news here. So Huobi. This was a kind of like some speculative news last week. Huobi having potentially financial difficulty, and I feel like that has been fluttering around for like maybe the past month. I was hearing things around Huobi, and I mean, pretty much the top executives were arrested. And now there is question around their actual financial books and whether or not those things are in place. So guys, if you have anything on Huobi, if you use Huobi, if you get anywhere near Huobi, please immediately withdraw your funds, because there is a lot of red flags that a lot of people are currently unsure about at the moment. So please withdraw your funds from Huobi. Let us not lose money because no reason, because you have no reason to. So that is all I have to say. And last but not least, Amazon is giving away NFTs. So Amazon has a partnership for their Amazon Prime games. They have a partnership with an indie studio game who is launching a game on the Polygon chain. And they are giving NFTs to every Amazon Prime subscriber. So that's over 200 million people they are giving these free NFTs to.
Talk about scarcity.
So pretty much, yeah, there's a 6-month partnership for this. And pretty much, I guess the NFTs, you can use them in the game, I suppose. But you can learn how to claim them on the Amazon Game Prime portal. They have some available packs. So there's, I guess they're going to have different packs that come out over time, something like that, because 200 million packs is a lot of packs of the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, over the next 6 months, claim a pack if you want a pack, and yeah, that's it.
Very nice. So I mean, it's interesting, and I like seeing these big companies getting involved with crypto. So so I think overall, long term, that could be something bullish, right? We're seeing it more and more. These big companies, slowly getting their hands within that crypto space, and incorporating a lot of things within it. So that's pretty cool. I appreciate the updates and the news. Since I wasn't around for the last few days, I definitely wasn't keeping up with a lot of that. So definitely interesting.
It's okay. I know there's no internet in Cuba. Don't worry, I got you.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting as for the PayPal news as well. That they're gonna have their own stable coin on PayPal. So we'll see how that plays out. And I'm sure it's probably gonna stay on PayPal. I don't think they would roll it out, anywhere else. But we'll see how that goes and how that plays out overall.
Too much sense too, because it's like, I feel like it's not necessarily like a free market thing. Like,
right.
Like they could, but like probably not.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. All right, so let's go ahead and now dive into the market analysis for Bitcoin. We're gonna basically take a look at it from a bigger perspective. We're probably gonna start at the weekly time chart, and then we're gonna kind of go into the daily and 4 hour. Now, as a notice, I didn't really have time to set up a completely in-depth analysis today, since I literally just walked in the door. But I did have a few things that I was looking at, that I looked at on my phone and stuff like that. So I'm gonna be setting it up as I go through it, and I'm gonna be literally just looking at it at live right now, and sharing with you my thoughts on it. Remember, after this, we're gonna do the Q&A. I already have a few questions. I saw one in the chat. If you guys have anything else that you want answered, that you want to ask, drop it in the comments. And remember, on Sundays, usually, I didn't do it this Sunday because I was out of town, I didn't have internet, but on Sundays, usually I ask on Instagram on bitcoin.daily, and you can drop your questions there as well, and then we cover them if you're not going to be able to tune in live. So for those of you not able to tune in live, no worries whatsoever. Let's go ahead and look at Bitcoin. So currently sitting at 29,107. We're looking at Bitcoin on the weekly chart. And the first thing that I want to show you guys that I'm looking at, this is one of the main things I've been looking at. So first, let's start off at the basics and what we already know, right? So first off, it looks like we set a bottom back in November. And ever since, we've set up highs, new higher highs and higher lows, right? So all that basically comes down to, okay, we've bottomed out and we've started a new trend to the upside, right? So we had this downside trend all the way from November the prior year in 2021, basically bottomed out exactly a year later, 2022 November, and changed the trend. Right? So most of the time when a trend changes, it continues, right? So you can see here when the trend changed. Now this chart doesn't go far enough back, but basically what you would see here is that in 2018, the trend we bottomed out here. You can see these prices were around the $3,000 mark. And the trend started changing, and the only reason that we had a lower low after the trend had changed was because we had a black swan event, right? The pandemic back in 2020. So you'll notice that this bounced right back up and continued the trend, and we ended up going on that bull rally, setting up higher highs, new all-time highs, et cetera, rest is history, right? Then back November 2021, fast forward to there, we went all the way to 69,000, and we had a trend change again, and you can see it was very clear to see. And then now bottomed out a year later, trend change again. So usually when there's a trend change, the trend continues in that direction. So right now the trend is bullish to the upside, and it's all positive from there, right? However, within the trend, there's always other things happening that you also have to, you want to keep a close eye on, because things can happen, right? So the first thing that I'm keeping an eye on, and this is something I haven't really pointed out yet here, is this right here. What I'm looking at, for those of you that are not seeing, watching this on YouTube, there is a potential double top that's been coming in, right? So we had back in April, we had a run. This is when we had a rally in March through April, right? Early April, we topped out at $31,000 and then basically consolidated downwards until early June, right? Then June, we had a big move up, and then we've been consolidating ever since. We have popped a few times back over that $31,000 area, but overall at 31,000, we have been rejected over and over and over again. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row we've been rejected at $31,000, which is the same exact price where we got rejected back in back in April. So this starts to set up a double top pattern. Now, what's a double top pattern? Double top pattern is when we get it rejected basically at the same exact spot. And it doesn't have to be the same number, but the same range, right? Usually that's a reversal signal. And the way that we look for, let me see if I can pull up an example here I always like to show examples of this. Let me see. I had one somewhere here. So here's a chart here, and I'll walk you guys through it for those not watching on the screen. But basically, what it means is that we topped out once, and then retraced back, then topped out, went back to the same spot, bounced, went back to the same exact spot we topped out the first time, and topped out again. Then we start to set a neckline. So the neckline becomes basically where we retrace to after that initial top out. And then the way we get a target, if this does become a double top, is we measure the retracement area where we retrace to the top of the pattern, right? So for example, let's take a look back. I'm gonna take a look back at the chart. We topped out at 31,000. We retraced basically down to about $25,000, and then we started moving back up, and again topped out at $31,000. So the way that this chart would play out is we would measure the move from about $25,000 to $31,000, and then that move we would put it on below the neckline, right? So I already have it set up, but just so you guys can see it visually, if you're watching right now, it's this move right here. So this is actually a little bit higher. This is $31,000. That's where we've been topping out, right? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just grab the measurement that I just made and put it at the break of the neckline, which is basically around, it looks like it's around $26,000 to $25,000 range. Remember, these are never perfect spots or exact numbers, but ranges. So the bottom of this, if we move it here, the bottom is around $23,000. So that $23,000 to $22,000 will be the double top target to the downside. And if we look over to the left, it makes sense to the left because there is actually support here at this range, that $22,000 to $23,000 area. So it makes sense for if we were to have a massive drop like that, it would make sense that this level, 22 to 23,000, would hold. Also, we can see that we have some imbalances in this area as well. From what we've seen as far as when looking for liquidity, we know that in these areas, we know that the biggest levels of liquidity for us is around $24,000 to $25,000. So all that kind of plays into each other and give each other confluence. So there's a possibility, that's a scenario that can happen if we don't get this bounce here on this trend line. So remember, we've been following this trend line that's been setting up the higher highs, higher lows, and we've bounced on it 1, 2, 3, and it's about to be the fourth time that we're going to be touching this trend line now. So this will be number 4. The trend line's currently sitting at 28,400-ish, in that range. So it's a bit lower than what we've gone. That's going to be the next big support area for us that we need to hold. If we lose that trend line, then we could potentially drop lower to these targets. So that's that's a scenario to keep in mind right now. I do think there needs to be like that. I do think that target at $24,000 area is like a worst case scenario target if we just get straight, bearish news for some reason, because it's gonna need some sort of catalyst most likely to be able to drop $5, $6, $7,000. It's not just gonna drop for no reason. So maybe something with a court case, maybe something with Bitcoin ETFs, whatever it is, right? That could play a role into Bitcoin heading down to that level. Now, another thing to note is that we're coming up on September. September is known to be pretty much one of the worst months overall when it comes to price action for Bitcoin. So again, that's why we're watching this. That's why we're talking about this now. So we're kind of prepared if we do start to see a move to the downside for Bitcoin. Now, it's not all gonna be, I do have a better, more upside scenario as well, but I always like to look at multiple scenarios. I don't like to just be biased bullish, right? Biased green. I don't want to just, I try as hard as possible. Sometimes it's hard, but I try as hard as possible not to be just biased in one direction or the other. I try to always look at it from, different points of views to see what other traders might be watching, and to see how they might be playing it, and to see where overall there's opportunity in the market. So that's the bearish case scenario right now, as of today. Now, how do we basically how do we get out of that case scenario? How do we, I forgot what the word is, invalidate it? There we go. So to invalidate it, we have to break $31,000 basically, right? That's how we invalidate the double top. Is there anything technical right now that's showing me a reason for Bitcoin without a news catalyst technically to make that movement to the upside and invalidate this double top and go up higher? And the answer right now is yes. And I'm gonna share with you guys exactly what it is. So going back let's now go to the daily chart, right? So we're gonna zoom in a bit, look at the daily, and here we're gonna see something that we saw very recently. So let me grab my trendline tool and kind of draw here. Let me fix this real quick. So it's not perfect, but just so you guys get an idea, this here was a falling wedge. And what happened when we had this falling wedge? We broke up to the upside, had this massive move, right? And this was after another massive move previously before it. And what do we have right now? What are we seeing right now in the market? This is a falling wedge. This is the same exact pattern that we saw back here after a massive move. And again, we got another big move, and now we're again in a falling wedge. So what exactly is a falling wedge? A falling wedge is, once again, a reversal signal that points to a breakout and usually points to a move to the upside. So, this is basically saying, okay, this is the end of the trend, and this is a small trend, right? And we're expecting to now after that we've consolidated this, we formed this falling wedge / bear flag. we're supposed to break out to the upside here. So the way that you measure a target for a falling wedge, it's very similar to what we just did for the double top, right? We look for the bottom and the top of the range. So it would be something like, from here to here. Then you basically grab that, you put it where the breakout would be, and guess what? It gives us basically $31,000 as our target. So a breakout here would give us a move to the upside with a target of $31,000. Now the issue becomes on the bigger scale that it's still $31,000 that we're stuck at, right? And we don't want to set up a triple top, because a triple top becomes even stronger than a double top and a bigger reversal signal. So we definitely need something. We want to see prices right now break above this and break out of this falling wedge. So I'd be looking at, a close above 29,500 maybe. And I definitely would want to see a close above $30,000. We need to retake that support, which now is turned into resistance. We saw that we got rejected there last week when we did retest it. Got rejected, and we instantly dropped all the way back down. And now here we are again, right? At that $29,000 area, basically trying to hold on for dear lives right now. So we know we have this big support, and there is a possibility for us to just kind of keep bouncing within here until we hit this support, and here potentially have that break to the upside. So this would hit a lot of liquidity down here, and it would hit our big trend line, and then we would get a breakout to the upside. Then we'd be basically looking at the target of $31,000 at that point. So that's pretty much the two things I'm watching right now, and I'm watching for this week, because I think that this week is going to provide a catalyst here. This week we have the CPI data coming out. Depending on which way things break, based on that catalyst, is where what Bitcoin, which direction Bitcoin's gonna decide to go in. So if overall it comes out bullish, then I think that the market's gonna go up, risk goes back on, and money comes back into crypto. Bitcoin's price starts moving up. We break out of the falling wedge. Now that gives a lot of traders a technical reason and confluence to go long, and it's gonna push prices up, right? If the CPI data comes in negatively or worse than expected, whatever it is, then price is gonna drop down. We're gonna end up breaking that neckline that we just spoke about. On that double top, we can potentially break down to that neckline area, potentially lose that as a support, and then we'll be looking at that $22,000 to $23,000 area for a target to the downside at that point. Again, if that happens, that'll be something that doesn't happen very often, because once the trend changes, usually we don't get a lower low again, right? Usually that trend continues unless there's something, a big catalyst or something that causes Bitcoin's price to do something that usually wouldn't do. So that's basically the main things that we're watching here this week. We want to see what happens on Thursday with the CPI data, which way things go, and then we're going to be playing things from there. So right now it's tough to call the trade. Last week, I know we spoke about longing at $29,000, and there was definitely a lot of opportunity there to long at $29,000. You can see that that we, on the next day, on Tuesday, we went from $29,000 all the way up to $30,000. So you could have definitely made some profit there. The way I'm playing it this week, it's tough to say. I don't like where we're at. I'm gonna need to see a break to the upside here and beyond 30K probably to think about playing something to the upside. If I see we're getting rejected at 30K like this again, then I'm going to be looking to probably open up shorts at that position there. If I also see a breakdown below this trend line as well, so probably I'd be looking below $28,000, then I'd potentially be looking for some short positions there. So those are basically the the main plays that I'm going to be watching this week, and that's how I'm going to be playing it. Depending what happens on Thursday is probably, how I'm going to decide which way I'm going to go with everything. So if you guys want up to date every single day, the exact trades that I'm making, you guys can join the Discord. It is in the description below if you're watching on the YouTube channel. If not, you can go to Instagram as well. I have the links on there, have the links on Twitter, so you guys can find it in those pages. I think that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and jump into the Q&A for today's video. So let's see. I'm gonna give this question to the BTC Queen, so I could drink some water.
Give it to me.
Because that's what she said. Let's see. All right, here it is. From Ducky Dave 92. Do you use any hot wallets? And if so, what is your favorite and why?
Okay, so that depends. So hot wallets, limitedly. That also depends on the network. Different blockchains have different networks. They have different consensus mechanisms and all the in between. So pretty much, if I'm using something that's like mostly Bitcoin or ERC, I'll start with ERC. If I'm using something that's like mostly like ERC, stablecoin, stuff like that, Trust Wallet's not a bad one. If I'm using something that I want to have an extra layer of privacy, and this is mostly on the Bitcoin network, I like Samurai Wallet. Samurai Wallet is pretty cool. It obfuscates all your information. If I'm using something for Cosmos, Kepler, those are probably the only three that I really like. Coinami is not bad. It's a little outdated though, but it does have a lot of options for using different wallets and networks. So that one's pretty good. I think is it Bread Wallet? A lot of people like Bread Wallet. Blue Wallet is good for Lightning Network. I think that's about it off the top of my head for those main wallets.
Nice. Sounds good. All right, let's we have 300 Rivers. He didn't really ask a question here, but he said he has a million questions about Chain Broker, that he's learning all he can about that website basically. Yeah, man. Basically, the best thing that you can do with Chain Broker is just play around with it, man. Go to the different what do you call it? The different VC pages. Look at what their investments are. Look at their past. See how often they're investing. See what it is they're doing. See what projects they're investing in, and try to look for those patterns, right? Try to look for projects where there might be a lot of big time investors with a history of making a lot of progress, right? With a history of being successful investors and jumping into projects early that did really, really well and ended up going very big and mainstream. So I would look at things like that, and then basically look at what the new projects that they're getting into are, and making a list of those projects, and then doing research on those projects, and then seeing if it's something that I might be interested in, if it's something that I think might have a future within the industry for it to grow. If it's already listed, if it's already out, how's it been doing? What's the roadmap look like for the project? What's the team look like, et cetera, and basically kind of create a checklist on what a successful project looks like, and what you should be looking for. So it basically breaks down, instead of having to look through thousands of projects, it gives you a list to focus on, because there's these proven VCs with proven history to pick successful projects and put millions into it and make millions back. They've already done a lot of the work for you. Now you just gotta try to figure out which, because remember, not just because they're a VC and they're putting millions into it doesn't mean project's always going to work out. There's still a bunch of projects that are going to flop. So you got to try to see which ones you like and you believe in and you think have a future in this industry, and then then you can invest in it if you decide to. But yeah, that's how I would approach it. And then we're doing one more questions also from 300 Rivers. He said, how was your trip? Cuba is on his list. So the trip was awesome, man. We only went for a few days, but it was a great trip. Hung out with basically my girlfriend's family, and she has family out there in Cuba that lives there. So it was awesome being able to stay with them and really live in Cuba, basically. And then I was also able to go back to where my mom actually grew up before she left Cuba, and we kind of found it's obviously not the same. It's been a lot of time since that happened, but I was able to go to at least that area where it was, and I kind of took pictures of it and videotaped that around the area, and she was able to remember some of the stuff in that area. So I was able to see that and all that, and it was really cool. It was a very cool trip, great trip. I definitely recommend it. There's a lot of things to do within there, and it's just very, and you'll see it once you go there. It's very sad to see the struggle that a lot of these people are going through, because there is a lot of poverty there, and that's the first thing that you're gonna notice once you get there. There is a lot of culture, like you're gonna see a lot of that. It's like it feels like the city is stuck in 1950s basically. They have all the classic cars. It's crazy. The cars that they have there are insane, but at the same time, buildings are falling apart, and there's no maintenance at all to the city, and it's just a lot of things that are sad to see. But it is cheap once you're there. We were basically buying a bunch of beer, a bunch of food and stuff, and it would come out to like $5-10, and we're like a group of 6 people or something like that, and very cheap. To buy stuff there. It's just very sad, how people have to live basically, and a lot of the struggles that they go through that we take for granted basically. So yeah, man, it was a great overall trip, but it was at the same time, it's very, very kind of sad to see how people are living, what they're going through, and a lot of the things that we take for granted in our everyday lives basically. But yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for us. I appreciate you guys, and I hope I was able to give you enough energy for today. I've been up since 5 a.m. I had to fly back over here to get here back in time to be able to do this live stream, this podcast for you guys. So I appreciate you guys if you did tune in. Remember, we're here every Monday, either at 1 p.m. or at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We had to push it back 1 hour today because I got in a little bit late. So usually that's the time we're going to be doing it. And then on Tuesdays, we're going to grab this recording, throw it on the podcast, and you guys can check it out. If you look for Bitcoin Daily, Let's Talk Crypto, it's up on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, most big places where you're gonna be listening to your podcast. That you'll probably be able to find it there. So I appreciate you guys. And that's pretty much it. Thank you, BTC Queen. I don't see you, so I'm not sure if you're still there.
Are you? You don't see me.
No, I don't see you.
Where'd I go?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see you. So, there you go. Oh, yeah, that's why I didn't ask you any questions, because I couldn't see you. So I wasn't sure if you were there, if something happened. But I appreciate you. Yeah, yeah, it's all good. Appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys next week. As always, peace and love, guys. Have a good one.